Hey, good morning, folks. We are going to continue working on our artwork for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we've been working on for the past year. So, give me a second here to check my signal, get through my intro spiel, and then we'll get to work this morning. So, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Check. Where's my check? There we go. Mic check. Check. There we go. Mic check. Check. Okay, good enough. All right. Let's see. Through here. And we'll do our intro spiel, and then we'll get to work. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements. I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past number of years, and there are a slew of links in the description down below that that link to things that I've produced for 5e that are published on the DMsGuild. They have extensive previews, so if you are here for the pixels and the artwork, there's probably about 150 different illustrations you can look at throughout just click on the free preview for each of them. If you're a D&D enthusiast and you're looking at ideas or concepts, then the stuff that I build are meant for both players and DMs. So check this stuff out. If you think it's cool, consider making a purchase to help support the channel. Otherwise, you could also support the channel by, well, if you want to get notifications when I'm live in the future, you can follow me on Twitter if you happen to still be on Twitter at Phil Kearney. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notifications of when we're live in the future so that you can hang out here as well. Hey, Hornetico, thanks for hanging out again, my man. Appreciate you being here. So this is the book cover that we created around episode 15 of this stream last year. We're at episode 209 right now. What do we do here? Like I said, we create ideas, and then we illustrate them, and then we publish them online. So let me crack open my document here real quick. So we write up something. I'll have an idea. I'll test it. If the idea works, I start to code the wording. The wording that we use, we first start off in Google Docs so that we can share things with other people to play test, to make sure my head's screwed on straight. And once we get through that process, we hire an editor who gets access to an edit version of the Google Doc. Once they're done editing, they hand it back to me. I then start parsing out the text onto different pages. And when all the pages are broken up into chunks of ideas that are digestible, we have all these spaces in the pages that appear. And then so we'll take an individual page like this one. We'll make a PDF out of it. We'll drop it into Photoshop. And then we start illustrating on the page. Once the page is done illustrating, we can then, I won't do it until the end of the process because it continues to increase the file size of the document. But once the project is, all the art is done, I can then import it back into Photoshop, into Word, and then seal it into a PDF document for the entire thing, and then publish it on the DMsGuild. Just like all the other pieces that are in my link down below. So go ahead and check out the work that I've done. If you think this stuff is cool, or if you're into pixels, stick around. That's what we're going to do. So we finished doing the line art for the evading skiff. We're going to continue our work, and here are our references that we're using. One of the massive ballistas that we produced, crewmen, Captain Sarlona, and then the skiff itself. I need to grab tradesman art. So hold on, let me go into our vessels. I'm thinking I'm going to release all the tokens for the ships and the characters and stuff as a standalone thing. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. Let's see, because all these tokens are basically done. I just have to package them and publish them. It'd be a good way for me to start building some momentum for this thing. And those that purchase the tokens would then be able to get a discount on the full book once it's released. But I'm looking for tradesmen. So lamprey, living ship, nautiloid, flying fish. It's not a tradesman anymore. It's a flying fish. So let's actually we can just duplicate this layer, duplicate this group in the combat chapter. There it is. We can then merge that down, open up, Well, that was the wrong way to do that. Flying fish. There he is. I'm still contemplating that. I still have another month or so to go before this thing's gonna publish, and this is the biggest project I've ever tried to attempt. So I didn't know how much effort it was going to. It takes maximum effort, a lot more effort than I had thought to get these pieces produced to the quality that I want. So it is producing a quagmire that I am struggling my way through. To be quite frank, it is a bear of a project. It's gonna be freaking sweet when it's done, but it's got to get done, and so I feel bad for my team that's waiting for this thing to get done to get some pay. So I'm thinking about cutting them in on the tokens and making sure they get some bank. I think that's the honorable thing to do. We'll figure it out. I'm not quite there yet. I'm feeling like that's where I'm going to end up at, is publishing this a little bit sooner. Publishing these particular tokens. Anyway, I'm thinking out loud at you guys. Good morning. It's the morning, and Phil talks business in the morning. I'd like to change that, but when I wake up, this is the stuff that I think about. It's like, you got to get that project done, dude. The eternal pressure. The eternal pressure. There, I'll do that. Going to do some shading and highlighting on this ballista. And luckily, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. There's a lot of this book that's actually done. So we got like maybe 10 more illustrations like this that we need to do. And God's willing, if I can maintain momentum in the evenings, I should be able to get this stuff processed and potentially out in October. Yeah, potentially in October. I'm going to see if we can achieve that dream. I'd say the aside from having a kick-ass book when we're done, I think the other takeaway from this is just having an idea of how much time and effort goes into building a book that's over 100 pages in size. We'll see if that can end up manifesting into bigger, better things in the future. Or maybe smaller, better things. Who knows? All right, that turret was easy. I don't have to do a ton of detail. Oh, I still need my string. Where was our string? Here's our string. That might be too light of a color for ye old. I bet the fireball may be okay. Look at that. A-okay. That fireball could burn off that string. That would suck. That's okay. The pilot's tanking damage for the crew. So we can stitch all that up, and then let's get our crewman back in here. Don't have to do a lot here, just gotta get some. There, easy peasy. Hey, what's up? Testing out some live stream earlier this morning. No kidding. Oh God. Well, I mean, hopefully that's not gonna happen every time you try to stream, because, wow. But hey, congrats, man. Peeling things open, that's awesome. Oh man, that coffee is good this morning. I got a lot of sleep last night. I decided to not work on this last night, and normally I'll stay up till 11, 12, even 1 o'clock trying to push the needle on this thing, and it has just been grinding me down. So last night I decided just to do some self-care and slept. I think the skiff is just about done. I think I want to darken that up just a little bit more. Gosh, my hair is itchy. Yeah, there we go. Let's drop in some dark over here. I think I have to restart my computer soon. I'm gonna have to restart my computer after stream, because this thing's starting to get chunky. I believe I'm going to have time to work on Eberron this evening at 5 PST instead of 7:30. I've got some stuff going on this week that's eating up my time in unexpectedly in the evening. So I'm going to see if I can get my art going earlier tonight so I can get it in. So I'm here 6 days a week. For those that don't know, that are new, that might be checking out the stream, hey, welcome to the mix, yo. We do artwork like this 5 days a week in the morning for Spelljammer, Monday through Friday. On Saturday morning, we do commission work and personal projects. I'm doing a book cover right now as a commission. On Monday and Thursday nights, like this evening, we work on the Eberron adventure that will become our main project once this is done. Eberron becomes the primary project, but for now, it's my secondary project. So that means it has Monday and Thursday nights that we do artwork for a few hours, and then on Tuesdays at lunch we work on Martial Powers, which is the third project that we're working on. So once this gets done, Eberron, like this, becomes our morning project. The Martial Powers project becomes our secondary Monday and Thursday night project. And then we don't have a third project after this because I'm going to start limiting myself to only 2 projects at a time, so that I don't overbook myself. So that's going to help free up a little bit of time for me to work on some campaign. So we'll be able to possibly during lunch times in the future work on campaign development and ideation. I think that'll be fun. Like the next campaign, my home table, we're at level 19 right now, and we are well on our way to finishing up this our current Eberron campaign. And once that's complete, as I've mentioned before, I want to begin an asteroid belt mining resource campaign where the characters or the players have control of a mining guild that floats through the Kyber belt, or the tiers of Sybaris in the Eberron setting as a Spelljammer campaign in Eberron. Basically, picking out crystals in the asteroid belt and mining them for Sybaris crystals to power their ships and magic technology. So we'll have to build out the ships that we want and the magic tech that's available, the mining crews, the different resources. So that's going to be a little bit of an investment for us to be able to. First off, I'm going to need to make sure that the team is completely bought into the idea, because they might want to do like a dungeon hex crawl, for instance, which I would be super gassed to do as well. They may want to do a Mad Max campaign. I'm not sure. My brain has been thinking asteroid belt, because it allows us to play with a lot of tools that we've been building, and to give us a little bit more depth of integration for the different projects that I've done so far. We have what we got? It's 50. We got about an hour or so. Oh, the coffee's good. Hey Shiner, how you doing, guy? But yeah, I'm thinking the asteroid belt, which is awesome. I think I've talked about it at least a little bit here before. But yeah, so we'll have I'll build a random generator for asteroids, like the size of them, how rich with resources it is, and then I'll be able to create like random cavern dungeons inside of them. So the team will be able to pick which asteroid they think is juicy. They'll then be able to survey the asteroid, discover if the pockets have creatures inside of them, and if they do, how do they want to clear them out. So you create a dungeon squad to go and kill off the monsters. And from there, then they have to decide. They'll have to send in a mining crew to start extracting the resources. While they're doing that, there's the potential of enemies attacking the mining operation, either the transport ships or the mining crew directly inside of it. So they'll have to defend the asteroid from poachers. And once they're successful in extracting the amount of resources that they want, then they'll be able to exchange the resources for. They'll be able to extract the minerals for resources, which will be a virtual currency that they can spend on either crew, equipment, or connections. So they can find. So that you can either get easier at like having more asteroid options to explore, a stronger crew to spelunk and clear out the dungeons, or they can have a more efficient mining operation to extract ore more quickly. So they'll be able to use those three levers to be able to choose what they want to advance. And while they're doing that, then I hit them with random encounters of poachers or unexpected creatures or magical anomalies, different, just random chaos that they have to deal with while they're going through that process. So we'll have it could be like it might be like each turn is a month, and or maybe a season. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that skiff. Fucking A, dude. And I'm good with the crew. Sorry, tangent real quick. I know I need to work on the fireball and the then the streak of fire that comes from the source. So now we want to work on the tradesmen. We've got our bubble to define its space. I don't have the bubble illustrated here because the it's inside the fireball would be washing out the look of the bubble. So I don't think adding the bubble here is going to help the illustration. But over here it does, because I like having that air bubble present throughout the works that we've been doing. Just kind of as a, I don't know. I think that's just a signature that I like on these things. I'm gonna drop down. These bubbles are probably the most controversial thing that we have. But yeah, I want to have. Okay, cool. So I have that 10% there. I do need to conceal the bubble while we work on the tradesmen. So I'm gonna go bubble. Fish. Background. This is all back bubble. Bubble back bubble bubble. There. Here's our reference. Pausing and reflecting here for a moment. I've got a new playlist that I built on Epidemic, the royalty-free music that we have playing in the background during my fits of silence. Not 100% on all of it yet. I don't think I don't think I'm into this piece. I'm gonna remove that one. There we go. All right, we're going to do some ship cleanup before moving on to the next thing. So let's look at our reference. Oh yeah, this guy doesn't have a mast. All right, let's start. Is that true? I feel like something is amiss. Beyond sources. What? Planescape Adventures of the Multiverse coming soon. That's a tragedy. We'll see. Maybe it's good. I do got to admit, once the Spelljammer book comes out, I am excited about how Planescape can integrate with what they did. We'll have to see what they do with Planescape to see how well we can integrate things. But flying fish. Yeah. It doesn't actually have a sail. Okay. gonna build ourselves a boat. Boop, boop. So we have a whole new campaign at my home table that's going to be starting up here in the next few months. And then once this book is published, I also want to start running a playtest for the martial power system, which I intend to have as a dungeon/hex crawl. Get those angles in here. So I'll have to figure out when I want to do that. Probably, I suspect it's going to be Monday or Thursday night. No, assemble a team. Probably make it like a West March sort of thing. If I can get a decent roster of people that are willing to fuck around with me for a few hours on a night. Like 3-hour sessions, just role playing, just running a game, but everybody would be using one of the character options for martial powers and be able to just kill shit, kill shit, run a game, have fun, bullshit around, just make it an actual campaign. But while we're doing that, just observing how the martial powers system is interacting with the 5e game space, and which is going to be a major. My home table, I have players rolling everything. Players always roll dice. I never roll dice in my home game. I find that if players roll everything, then there's zero downtime for any player. I mean, like, they might not be like, if I'm going to have 6 goblins attacking your 3rd level characters, and there's, like, say 4 people on the board, the goblins could attack any of them at any time. So it's not just me processing attacks and misses and you guys stare at your phone while I do that. What actually happens is, hey, give me a defense roll, which is what armor class is. Armor class is passive. The players attack creature armor classes. Players make defense rolls because creatures are attacking them and they have to actively get out of the way so that they aren't hurt. 4th edition, this is kind of like 4th edition, where 4th edition would basically, like, armor class was basically a type of saving throw. That's not true. They would attack like strength, like you'd have to make a strength. It's like a strength check. It's like the words I'm trying to attempt to use here is strength was a defense, intelligence was a defense, charisma was a defense. They had different defenses that were basically set up like saving throw targets. So if my spell was targeting your strength, then we would make it against the strength. But in D&D 4e, it was also passive. It's like you had a passive strength defense, a passive intelligence defense, etc. But it was all keyed off of their ability scores. So when players roll everything, you have the option of basically having them. The defense rolls is basically like a modified dexterity saving throw. But you can have it like either based off of dexterity or strength. Like if they're a tanky character, you could have it key off strength. That way there's less emphasis on the type of armor that they're wearing, but rather, like, if you're using heavy armor, you can use your strength. If you're using light armor, heavy and medium armor uses strength. Light armor uses dexterity. So if you want to, and then you get an armor class, an armor class bonus that goes along with it. but it doesn't have to be as much. You can limit your armors to +1, +2, +3, and the stat that they're working with. So stats don't get out of control, but like heavy armor, and then like heavy armor can be +2, +3, +4. So heavy armor is better than ends up being better than medium armor. And so when the goblin attacks you, you make a defense check to see if the roll that you make is better than the static attack DC that goblin would have. So you're always rolling against that. So the players are always on, and there's a lot of, like, you can run, if you have players roll dice always, then you can have this squishy space of, is it combat, is it not combat? It can be, you can convert challenges to, like, I need you to make if you're running through a lava field, for instance, I want you to make a dexterity or a constitution saving throw while you're running through. And if you succeed the check, you'll take, say, 6 points of damage. And if you fail the check, you take 15. So the players are, you can do the same thing in combat, where it's at the beginning of the round. It's their turn. Give me a hazard check using either a Constitution or Dexterity saving throw, and that's how much passive damage they're going to take at the beginning of the turn from the elements that they're fighting inside of. So they could be spending resources trying to mitigate the damage effect that they're dealing with, and making during their off turn they could be making rolls of these defense rolls. So that's how. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but the players roll everything is a way I find to keep players always engaged, because they don't know when they're going to have to make a roll to protect themselves against whatever it is that the DM is doing. Most tables check out while the DM is processing a round of combat, and the larger the battle, the longer it takes for the DM to process the turn, the more players check out. And after 20 minutes, after maybe even 10 minutes, it's like, okay, great. So character A takes blank, character B takes blah blah blah. So, and then they mark down their thing, and then they step away and don't pay attention again until it's their turn in initiative. So I also use group initiative, where the team can stack up their actions any way that they want. If you want to use 2 attacks on this creature, and then coordinate your third attack to work with the rogue over here, then the rogue will be able to get advantage and sneak attack on that particular target. So you can divide up your actions that way. Like, I'm going to attack these things and then move out of the way and let the wizard drop a wall of stone between our ranks, so we can take out that guy, and then the wizard can go. Or the wizard can wait and see will the team be able to kill those things off, but you're delaying your action. So you can hold your action as a reaction to see if the team is able to cap off the thing that they're fighting or not. And then once they process their round, since we do side initiatives. So the problem with side initiatives is that the characters process all of their turn before the creatures go. So if they want to, if you have multiple attacks, you're declaring how many attacks you want on a target before you know your results. I'm going to make 3 attacks against that dragon, and then I'm going to use my and if those things hit, then I'm going to use my bonus action, like to trigger an effect or something maybe. So you're declaring your actions beforehand, and so we're really liberal about what you can do as a reaction. You have your action as a reaction, but you key that reaction off of what your team is doing. Hey, if my team is successful at killing those 2 or 3 things, then that's going to change where I want to target my fireball. So casters tend to hold actions to wait to see what marshals do, and the results of the marshals then determines what the wizard wants to do. Or they could decide, hey, yeah, we want to pop a wall of stone behind these enemy troops so that we can process these creatures by themselves without their allies being available. So then the wizard drops the wall first, and then the team starts to go to work on the creatures that are stuck on the wrong side of the wall with you. You're stuck inside here with me. But that's a different way of processing combat than what's the rules as written in 5e. Rules as written is every creature has its own turn and initiative, but that causes people to check out. It's not players become audience when it's not their turn that way, and they may not care what's going on, thus you lose engagement. If you have everything processed at the same time, with them choosing whether they're going to delay their actions or not, then the players are always active because they're choosing when they are going to engage with enemies, and they're always having to make those defense rolls. So it keeps the players active 100% of the time. So there's no phone time. No one has time to pick up the phone because they're always deciding amongst each other what it is tactically they want to do. Because they know that if they're going to delay their action, like if they want to find out if that goblin gets killed, they have to delay their action to find out. And so they aren't able to sequence they have to adjust their action in the round to determine when things happen. And once the players exhaust all of their action economy, that's when the DM processes the monster's turn. So the players have as much fluidity to use their action economy to gain as much advantage during combat, during their turn as they want. But at some point when they're exhausted, well crap, we're out of action economy. Now it's time for the creatures to react. But if they're holding on to the reactions for like opportunity attacks and stuff, while I'm processing, okay, this goblin is trying to advance past you to attack the cleric on the back line. If the fighter held on to their reaction, like I'm going to use an opportunity attack to try to stop that creature. Okay, great, go ahead and process that, and then they're done. And if they fail to kill the goblin, then cleric, I need you to make a reaction. I need you to make a defense check to see if this goblin hits you or not. So the cleric is hanging on whether the fighter succeeds with the opportunity attack to determine whether the cleric has to make a defense check or not. So they stay engaged. It's like I want to grant the fighter. Like you can use what's the word? Guidance. Thank you. The cleric could use guidance to give a plus D4 roll to the rogue if they're making a defense check to not be hit. So I can give you an impromptu plus D4 die roll to your defense check, and that's going to eat the cleric's reaction that turn. So it's a fun way to be able to screw around with the action economy, but that's not playtesting. When I'm playtesting, I have to use rules as written because that's what we have to assume. Whoever it is that's going to use this, use the thing that we build, that they're going to be using rules as written. So I can't use my modified. As much as I love my modified rules, and as much as I think it keeps player engagement, it's not the thing that we're selling. We were having, I don't remember if it was on There's a Zod's channel or if it was Indestructiboy's Discord, but we were talking about you have to design. It was Indestructiboy, that's right, because Evander had posted something from Reddit. Somebody had proposed a resource-less fighter option, and so the comment was, this is, multi-classing. Like, you can't give unlimited maneuvers to a fighter at first, second, third level, because if you dip the fighter class that way, you're giving every other class unlimited maneuvers. The way that it was built was similar to how I do martial powers, that on a short rest you can swap out one of the maneuvers that you know. But they didn't have a limit on how many maneuver dice they would allow for fighters to use maneuvers. So every short rest, you could switch out between the one of 20 maneuvers that are provided to the battle master, and you had unlimited superiority dice. As long as you were using a maneuver, you got another die to spend, no limit. Well, if I took 2 levels of fighter and then 18 levels of rogue, then I could, like, say, use a maneuver that gives my rogue advantage every turn. So I am now providing myself with infinite advantage to make sneak attacks on demand by taking even just a 1 level dip and just choosing that maneuver. My rogue is now complete, and so that's milking the system. But if I had a superiority die that I can do that once per short rest, then great, go ahead and do that. Your rogue isn't gaining ridiculous value from that. So I mean, I appreciate where this guy was attempting to go with the idea of a resourceless fighter, but that spurs the question: you have to design the game. You have to design your stuff for the game that's actually being played, not the way that you want the game to be played. If you want to introduce a resourceless thing like that and then impose a no multi-class rule, then you have to add that to the rule set. When you're using this, you are not allowed to multi-class because it breaks the game. You have to be aware as a designer to know that that's a restraint that you need on your system, which then makes your system not viable to everybody that wants to multi-class, because chances are if they're multi-classing, they're also optimizing. And they aren't going to be interested in maybe they are interested, maybe they're so enchanted by your mechanics that they're willing to play a fighter level 1 to 20 and that's it. But most people that care about the efficiencies and action economy of a fighter are also wanting to multi-class or be in a game where they're allowed to multi-class. So there's a disconnect there. But I mean, otherwise, in a game that didn't have multi-classing, a resourceless fighter that has infinitely spammable maneuvers makes a lot of sense. Like, that makes sense. I'm never going to have, this is the class that I chose, this is the class I'm sticking with, and having infinite maneuvers is a way to narrow the margin between casters and marshals, assuming that you don't get past the second tier. Like, that system is viable up to and through like level 9. By the time full casters gain high magic of 6th level and above, I call it 6th level and above high magic. Check out my mana resource books, spellcasting variant rules below to see the differences between high and low magic. High magic, low magic, and cantrips are the 3 tiers of magical capability that I discuss in those books. Like, if I were to redo D&D 5e, and God knows someday I may, I wouldn't have cantrip scaling. Like, you can do infinite damage D8 plus your ability score, but it wouldn't scale up to like 4d8 damage at 17th level because wizard, like, that's too much power. It's unnecessary. But again, you have to design for the game that you're actually playing. If I decide to create my own game, I can make that decision. But if the stuff that I'm building is for 5th edition, then I have to begrudgingly accept that until Wizards changes the rules, cantrips are going to give you 4 dice at 17th level. And you have to design for that in mind. It's interesting, the optimizer community of 5e, especially on Reddit. I've been paying a lot more attention to Reddit since Evander joined Indestructiboy's Design Sphere, because he posts a lot of interesting ideas from Reddit. I don't really like when I'm on Reddit, all I really pay attention to is Ravnica and Spelljammer circles. Like that's all I'm really interested in. But there's a lot of we'll say interesting ideas that get posted on Reddit, like on D&D Next or whatever. People are always putting their ideas out there, and it's fun to see how much conversation is around the optimizing community starting to recognize how much of a problem Wizards of the Coast 5e design is becoming, because there's no real guiding principles or rules behind what Wizards will put out as an idea. Like they act like first year optimizers. Like, hey, here's some cool ideas, without really thinking about overall effect of the game. Like, let's let bards have access to all spells. Like, you don't think that means that everyone's just automatically going to want to play a bard if they're going to have a game that's going to roll into like 12th level or above? Like, you guys need to show some constraints and design objectives so that you know whether an idea you're putting out there is chafing against the power limits that you actually are actively trying to maintain. Like when I'm building something, I have to be aware of what the limits of power on a character are, so that when I build something, it isn't by accident ratcheting up the amount of power that classes have. Or if I am ratcheting up the power, do it intentionally with limitations. Like for example, probably the most aggressive rule that I have is stacking concentration. You can maintain concentration on multiple spells as long as those spells don't exceed your maximum spell level. Like if you are a 5th level caster, you can maintain up to 3 levels worth of concentration at any time, whether it's a 3rd level spell or 3 first level spells or a 1st and a 2nd level spell. But if you do that, then you have to use my concentration rules, which is whenever you make a saving throw, that saving throw is measured against your current concentration DC. And if you fail the save, whether you succeed the saving throw or not, if the roll is less than your concentration DC, then you lose all your spells. So a three levels worth of concentration is a DC 13. So if I make you make a strength save, if I have your wizard who has a -1 on their strength check, or on their strength saving throw, if they have to make a strength saving throw DC 13, they have to roll 14 or above, or they're going to lose all 3 of their levels. So once you get to higher levels, it starts to get ridiculous. Here comes a breath weapon, dexterity saving throw DC 21, and your wizard has a 0, like has maybe like a +1 to the dexterity saving throw. So they're going to have to roll a natural 20 or they're going to lose all their spells. You now have to fucking think about that all the time when you get to higher levels. And that's what I've been using at my home table for the past 4 years. And it's great. They are very, very careful about whether they're going to pick a fight or not. Like, running away becomes a very viable option if you've got like 6 levels that you've got stacked up, maintaining concentration to prevent your team from taking damage inside of this volcano while you're exploring there. And oh crap, of course there's a red dragon that's lairing in this volcano. We better get the hell out of here, because it's not that we can't survive around it. And we're 18th level, 19th level now. We can survive a fight with a dragon, but not in this volcano, because if we lose our concentration and all of our elemental resistance that the cleric is maintaining, if we lose that, we're going to be taking 20 points of damage per round from the lava. And the dragon's not affected by that, so we can only last a couple rounds if we're taking damage from the dragon on top of the lava. We have to go, and we need to figure out a way to be able to challenge that dragon, or to avoid that dragon while we're here in the volcano, because if it confronts us, we're dead. And that's a problem that, like, a lot of, you know, 4th tier characters don't have to worry about at all. They'll just, you know, be able to do 4th, you know, 19th level stuff and get out of it. But I make my games a lot more harsh. That is a way of rewarding characters for having smart tactics. They can, if they do their job well, they can afford to maintain 6 levels worth of spells being maintained at the same time, even though the cleric has no chance of hell of being able to pass like a strength 16 DC. It's not going to happen. And as a DM, I keep mixing up from encounter to encounter what sort of saving throws they have to make. And if you have if you have a party that has balanced stats, then everyone's always going to have a weakness. Like I like when I build characters, I like using a stat array of 8, 10, 12, 14. No, sorry, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 6 is an utter dump stat. It's a -2. So if you put your 6 in a stat that you don't have a saving throw for, like say Wizard puts 6 in strength, then their strength saving throw is going to permanently be a -2 because they're not, unless they start dumping ASI into improving that strength, their strength is always going to be a weakness on that wizard. So when I build an encounter, I can take one of the 3 defense stats, strength, dexterity, con, and I can take one of the mental stats, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and have stuff that's going to attack one or the other. Like those two stats are going to require saving throws during this encounter. So you can't just tank your way through and ignore stuff. It's like, no, there's going to be like a constitution effect. And your rogue is never going to succeed at that constitution saving throw. So your rogue is always going to be in danger of getting fucked up. But that's you know, encounter design. Like your team's gonna have weaknesses, and being aware of what their weaknesses are allows you as a DM to determine what sort of encounter that you can build against them. But that's not typical. Well, that actually is pretty typical D&D, because you can do environmental effects that are forcing saving throws. It's just the concentration thing isn't out of the box. But when you're using martial powers, that concentration system is in effect. So when I playtest, I can have that system of affecting concentration effects. So the team, when they're playtesting, will have the option of, do I want to stack up concentration effects? Do I want to lock my mana so I won't have access to some of my cool toys because I want to guarantee I'll succeed at my saving throw? But to do that, I have to shut off mana. So I'm exchanging available mana for security and guaranteeing a successful roll. So that is a part of the playtest. And I know that stuff works really well because we've been using that for 4 years in my own home table. But it's also been 3 years since I've been at the first tier, because we're at level 19 now, and this game's literally been going on for a number of years now. So it's time for me to throw up a playtest. Oops. It's time for me to throw up a playtest to make sure that stuff is working the way I expect it to. Boy, I'm really rambling this morning. I hope you guys are keeping up with me on this. Hopefully don't sound too much like a fool. Is that fishy? Yeah, it feels okay. I do want to sail back here. Because it feels right. These lines are proving to be problematic. Honestly, at this range, do I need them? No, I don't actually need those. Okay, Kearney, stay on task. Whoop, and whoop. This is not the way. Let's get rid of that. This is the way. There we go. So yeah, playtesting makes me sad. It's absolutely necessary. You have to playtest. If you're going to publish something that's providing new rules or ideas, I mean, like if you're just doing a subclass, you can get away with not playtesting. You can playtest that by being in a game and playing it yourself to see how it rolls. Maybe get someone else to play it to see if they think it's fun. But it doesn't require massive hardcore playtesting. Especially if you're staying within statistical curve of other stuff. But if you're creating entirely new systems of magic or combat or resource management, blah, 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 whatever it is that you're doing, if it's changing how players play the game, you have to play test that stuff. Otherwise, you're just full of shit. Which means that you have to play the game as intended. Which means initiative, order, and players getting bored, and all the other bullshit that goes along with 5e RAW. That's the thing that I lament the most about creating my own game is that who the fuck would care, you know? like I would have to have a lot more pull and clout than I do to be able to make any kind of a ripple. God, I like that tradesman. That looks so fun. All right, now I can reintroduce that and put the bubble in effect. So far, so good. All right, let's make sure these are clean. Like it's legitimately easier and faster distribution to create rules that modify 5e than it is to create a game different from 5e. Now you got to get people on board to play a game that's not 5e. It's easier to get people to keep playing 5e, but try using these rules instead. Like, that's a much easier sell, which is why my books sell, because I'm like, hey, keep playing 5e, but try these rules instead. And people that jive on those rules buy those books. It's I think it's a much harder sell. Like, if I were to make my own role-playing game, it would probably be a 300-page book, which would take me 2.5 years to complete. Like, that's a big ask. That is a huge ask. I am not there yet. Maybe if I eventually get into... I'm going to grab this color here. Maybe if I can get into Kickstarters and have a large enough audience to support the success of a Kickstarter, then I can start putting out new ideas like that. But I am not. I do not have the clout or the respect necessary to be able to succeed at that. Which means I need to continue to grow this channel so I can indoctrinate more people into my way of thinking, so that people would be on board with, yeah, we'd actually like to see that. And it needs to be a number of people that would warrant quitting my day job to be able to produce that sort of project. Luckily, we're not in a hurry. You can't rush progress. I sure do like talking about work a lot, don't I? Very good. So I guess the bottom line behind all that is, yeah, playtesting. It's gonna happen. I'll have a playtest team for the martial power system. I'll let that run for a number of months to get us from, like, say, 3rd to 7th level, maybe 3rd to 10th level might be a really good pull. The 3rd level, you're gaining all your subclasses, and 10th level, you've had an opportunity. Like 9th level, you gain 3rd rank powers. So 10th level gives you an opportunity to mess around with those for a level or two, and then my playtest team started using this at 12th. So what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 7 levels. That's going to be, God, that'd be a 5-month campaign. I don't know if I can get people on board with me for that long. That'll be a big ask to see if I can have people on board with me that long. But that's why I think I need to do a West March style. So I have to build a campaign that's going to be able to tolerate people coming and going. So we'll have to build that out too. There. Yeah, let's duplicate this. Merge. Fish. Now we're just cleaning this up. And we can move on to the fireball. This is about the time in the project where I start to say, boy, the next time I do a project like this, I want to do line art, like just sketches. And by the time I actually get to the project, I'm going to forget that, and I'm going to be like, God, I really want to make this full color. I want it to look gorgeous. I would certainly be able to finish a page of art much quicker if it was only just line art, obviously. Then I feel like I'm selling myself short. like a big goal that I had to creating this stuff was because I don't see color, and I'm not aware of any colorblind artists out there producing professional color work. So I felt that was important. To be able to speak to colorblind artists that want to color, to be able to show them that it can be done. But I don't have any colorblind audience. So who the fuck cares? At this point, it's just a normal audience that doesn't really give a rat's ass that I can see color or not. That is certainly a testament to the success of the work that I've done. That it literally becomes invisible, like it doesn't matter. That was a dream I had in my 30s. And when you're in your 30s, you want to change the world. In the 20s, you just want to figure out how life works and have fun. In the 30s, you're like, no, you know what? I've seen enough of this world. I want to make a difference. And by the time you're in your 40s, you're like, you know what? There's so much momentum in this world. All I can really do is make a difference for the people that I care about, which is when you start making compromises in your life. Which is why people tend to become more conservative as they age, because conservatism is literally preserving what you know. And so it doesn't matter how successful you are, your brain just automatically starts to descend into that. I need to make sure I'm taking care of my those I care about, because I'm not going to be here forever. And most of the time, in most circumstances, people that are capable of accumulating enough influence, wealth, etc., to be able to make the changes that they had hoped that they'd be able to make when they were younger, have gone through the process of aging, and their mind changes, like just the way that they function in reality changes over that time, where they just lose, for lack of a better word, interest in changing the world. Like, the world's going to change or it's not. And you aren't going to have much influence on it. If you happen to have enough power, wealth, or influence to actually be able to make those changes, by the time you get there, you're not going to want to. It's an incredible irony. Like, 30-somethings want to be involved in politics. They want to make changes, but they don't have enough influence to actually be in a position of meaningful power. And by the time they've accumulated enough resources, influence, or money to actually be able to make that difference, there's a high likelihood that they have compromised their principles and that they are in self-preservation mode. Like, these large sweeping changes that a 30-something would want to make in a political system, the hunger, the appetite to do that disappears by the time they've accumulated the power that they need. It is a painful paradox. Uh-oh. I know that. What is it, 50? All right. I still got a few minutes. I've got 10 minutes. I can play for 10 more minutes. See if we can get this fish done. And then when we come back tomorrow, we'll be able to finish the fireball and this piece will be done. If it's going to take a week per piece to finish, that is not good news. I seriously have like 10 more of these things to do, which tells me that I won't actually be able to publish until fucking November. Just keeps getting further and further out, man. Does not bode well for the Eberron project. That is going to be a chunky document. Luckily, a lot of the Eberron adventure art assets are going to be maps. Lots of maps. So that'll help. That'll help reduce the amount of rendering time that we have to spend like this. There we go. Not bad. Pretty happy with this. No complaint about results. What's up? Well, hey, Sheree. I'm going to be stepping out of here in about 5 minutes. So sorry for you to catch up with us here at the tail end of the stream, but this is the piece that we're working on right now. It's going to get finished tomorrow. I'm here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this, working on artwork as such. I also stream on Monday and Thursday nights doing cartography and creature tokens for an Eberron adventure that I'm publishing. And on Tuesday we do game mechanics. But yeah, I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. So we still need to work on the fireball a little bit. Like we need to do some flame rendering down here. But otherwise, this piece is looking pretty good. Here's some of the tokens that I've already produced for this Spelljammer supplement. This is a Spelljammer. If you're new to the mix, Sheree, I have a 110-page document that I've created for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons for the Spelljammer setting. This adds depth to ship creation rules, ship combat, so that you're using action economy. Zooming in on this, like here's the different roles that you can have as a pilot, a siege commander, a squadron commander, or a support character. Here's your action economy in D&D of verbal commands, object interaction, actions, attacks inside of actions, bonus actions, which can also be attacks or other things, and then reactions. Here's the different roles that you can have as a pilot, a siege commander, a squadron commander, or a support option. Here's our pilot role, how pilots perform checks to be able to do different things like make attacks or maneuvers. Pilots can use their life force to take damage for the ships that they're piloting. Here's the individual actions that pilots can take: attacks, defense, deflect attacks, disengage, hide, moving ships, opportunity attacks, pacing other ships, ramming, readying actions to do other things, and scuttling enemy ships. And then there's the siege command role, how you make siege command checks, taking damage with your life force for weapons and crews that you're commanding, the different actions you can take. So we build out the document, and then when we have gaps in the page, in the rules, like here, we then fill in that gap. So hide the reference here. So small illustration, a little piece of spot art. But we've been, if you check back the past 200, we're on episode, what, 200 and, hold on, we're on episode 209 now. So if you like and subscribe, or check out the playlist that we have off of our channel here in Phil Kearney, you can see the past 200 episodes that we've ran. You'll be able to build out all the page layouts and all the artwork on, like we finished the spellcasting chapter, we finished the ship and equipment chapter, we finished the hazards chapter. Right now we're working on the combat chapter. We still need to do the exploration chapter, and we've already done preliminary work on the random system generator. But so the combat and the exploration chapters are the only two that we actually need to do art for. We have, and then we have at the back page of it, the Light of Zaraxis adventure. We have a conversion guide using all these mechanics to use in Light of Zaraxis, so you can have a different experience if you're familiar with that adventure. You can use these mechanics to change how you play Light of Zaraxis as kind of a proof of concept. So all the tokens that we've been producing here, like Captain Sarlona and the siege machines, like the characters that are in Light of Zaraxis, we have tokens for. All the creatures that are in Light of Zaraxis, we have tokens for. All the ships, we have tokens for. We already have all the maps built. And we have all the preliminary conversion guide. Thank you, timer. So that's what this book is. Once it's done, there's a slew of links in the description down below. If you check here, there's a slew of books that I already have published that you can, like for example, Point Warlocks. This is one of the books that we have in a DMsGuild. It's pay what you want. So if you think it's cool, thanks. This is a 10-page document. All the work that I post on DMsGuild for D&D content. You can see here 10 pages. I always have 100% preview on all my books. So you can read through the entire document, If you think it's cool, then maybe you'd consider making a purchase to support the channel. But yeah, all these things are 100% preview. So when this book is done, it'll also be 100% preview. But when you buy the book, you get all the tokens that come along with it. There's 72 tokens of the ships, creatures, and NPCs that are in Land of Zaraxis, as well as all the maps that you need. There's 9 maps, and then there's all 20 some odd ships that are in the that are presented in the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space that Wizards of the Coast published. We have token art for all of those ships as well, the 50-foot scale and the 5-foot, 50-foot, and 500-foot scale. We have ship tokens so you can operate inside of those different scales of combat to be able to do all the things that you can do. So, but I'm at the end of my stream. It's 8 o'clock here in Seattle, so I gotta check out to do my day shift. I'll be back. I think I'll be back at 5:30 today to work on Eberron tokens for the Eberron adventure that we'll be publishing later on this year as well. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Sorry, Sheree, for blinking out just as you tune in. But if you check us out tomorrow, I'll be back then as well. So, folks, you can like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon here to get notifications in the future of what I'm doing. And I'll be back tomorrow morning. I'll be back tonight in about 9 hours, and then I'll be back again in 22 hours to continue working, finishing this painting. So catch you guys then. I'm out.